Hello and welcome, my friends and viewers, to this week's episode of Legendlore, where I draw and talk about monsters, characters, gods, and other things from D&D 5th edition, all while giving a small but quickly digestible history about them. Together we'll go over their history within the game, how they're utilized in the modern edition, and how you guys can utilize them in your own games. Finally, taking a break from living in Baldur's Gate 3, this week we're going to be covering a favorite monster of mine to deploy, especially whenever the players get a bit too comfortable and I want to spice things up with some accusations, defamation, and a little bit of paranoia. I'm of course talking about the Doppelganger, those gray-skinned alien-looking shape-changers who can emulate the appearance, voice, and mannerism of almost any creature that they see. Getting right into it, when not assuming the form of others, Doppelgangers appear as hairless, thin, gray-skinned, sinewy humanoids, having silvery, pupilless eyes and a distinct lack of a visible mouth, though they could use their ability to give themselves one if needed. Being monstrous humanoids, Doppelgangers, as per their name, can take on the appearance of almost any other sort of humanoid, though their internal biology still remains to their original form. While this obviously gives them an obvious surface-level edge, their changing skill is purely aesthetic and doesn't give them any information about the person that they've turned into. To remedy this, they would need to use their mental ability to read the minds of their targets, often keeping them alive for a time after capture in order to gloss over and collect information to make the impersonation seem more real. Conversely, Doppelgangers could opt to study and learn the behaviors of the target that they wish to change into before capture, adopting their mannerisms and learning their knowledge and routines before finally killing them and taking their place. Beyond that, Doppelgangers really held no other innate talents beyond above-average physique and agility, as well as the uncanny ability to defend against mind-affecting spells like Sleep or Charm Person. That said, they were definitely more than capable of learning additional skills such as combat, performance, or even magic, which means that all Doppelgangers can have any number of skills or knowledge under their belt. This will be important later on in the video when we start discussing how to deploy Doppelgangers in your game. In terms of their actual behavior, Doppelgangers were largely similar to other humanoids, capable of coming from any background and learning any skill, so long as they dedicated time and study to it. This didn't mean that Doppelgangers were walking around in their default forms in broad daylight. People were extremely fearful of Doppelgangers due to their impersonation abilities, and rightfully so. And these creatures were more than quick to realize that their gifts could serve them in a variety of different ways, from transforming into the object of one's desire as a courtesan, to killing and impersonating the king of a country. Doppelgangers can make excellent spies, assassins, infiltrators, and manipulators, offering their skill and service to the highest bidder. Doppelgangers were also unique in that they had an extremely dominant biology, meaning that when they mated with other non-Doppelganger races, the offspring ended up also being a Doppelganger, only retaining the likeness of the other parent until puberty struck, revealing their true form. From here, the child would go to search for others of its kind, which was difficult considering that Doppelgangers largely didn't have a society of their own, due to their low numbers and the superstition that follows their every move. Now with that out of the way, if a party were to slay a Doppelganger, they would unfortunately find that there wasn't really much to use from its bodily components, save for maybe use of its blood to create a potion of true polymorph or something. I personally, however, like to implement the idea that a Doppelganger's skin secretions, when properly distilled by an alchemist, can be made into a cosmetic that can give the user a certain level of malleability to their skin and bone, allowing them to slightly change their facial features such as hiding scars, heightening their cheekbones, arching their eyebrows, and so on. I also like to have this be a stand-in as a use of a disguise kit, which you guys are more than free to steal for your games. And when it comes to deploying Doppelgangers at your table, their use is pretty obvious, if not a little singular. Doppelgangers use their skills of impersonation in a variety of different ways, such as spying on others to gather information for rival parties, getting close in order to assassinate a target, or pretending to be something or someone in order to satisfy some other goal. As such, your party won't encounter a Doppelganger out in the wilderness like, say, a gnoll, owlbear, or goblin. They'll usually keep to urban settings or other highly populated areas, where they can have multiple targets that they can impersonate or blend in with. This includes political factions, clerical orders, royal courts, anywhere where valuable information and sources of power and influence can be found. Now, you can take the direct approach and have your Doppelganger be sent to deal with the party directly, possibly capturing and impersonating a trusted NPC and waiting to get a single member alone for a kill. On the other hand, however, I personally like to deploy my Doppelgangers for very long plays, possibly having them impersonate this trusted NPC for an extremely long time, possibly even several levels into the game. They may appear to help the party when they ask, but behind the scenes, they have a dark agenda in mind, and work to undermine the heroes at every turn, until eventually, the players realize that this NPC has been betraying them and they go out to confront them. Even during this confrontation, the Doppelganger can still choose not to reveal itself, reveling in the betrayal while wearing this original person's image and tarnishing their reputation. It's only when combat begins and the first wound reveals the NPC to bleed silvery blood does the Doppelganger finally reveal themselves. From then on, after the party kills the doppelganger, the next goal becomes finding out if the doppelganger killed the person they were pretending to be, or if they lie somewhere bound and gagged waiting to be discovered. Conversely, you could open up your plot with the doppelganger in this way, the party discovering the dead or living and captured NPC locked up in a chest or closet or something, now realizing that the NPC that is out and acting in the world is not who they seem to be. Now, if you want to go full tilt and try to have the doppelganger infiltrate the party in some way, this will require a bit of finesse and buy-in on the player's part. My first warning is to not immediately replace a PC with a doppelganger without talking to the PC's player first. That, and if you as the DM act as a player's PC to another player, they will unfortunately suffer from the unconscious risk of metagaming, no matter how good of an impression you do. With these two things in mind, the best way to deploy a doppelganger amongst your party is to suss out which players would be the most accepting of having their characters captured and replaced, letting them in on the fun without any worry of harming the characters beyond being bound and stuffed into a closet. After you have your selection, you hand out pieces of paper to each of your party members saying, "You are not the doppelganger, act as per normal." From there, the paranoia will grow and grow and grow naturally, as everyone begins to question and wonder who really is the true villain. And if you're really devious, you can hand out these notes without actually having selected a player to be the doppelganger. It's a great little goose chase DM trick that allows you to deploy the doppelganger at your own leisure, or to allow a player to engage in the nonsense of pretending to be a doppelganger, pretending to be their character. This also helps prevent the risk of the selected player not actually enjoying the experience, as you would have allowed the player to buy in of their own accord. I've deployed this multiple times in a lot of my games, and it always works every single time because some of the players were in on it. As for running doppelgangers in combat, they mostly have a standard stat block that is useful for hit-and-run tactics and more getting away from a fight than actually engaging in one. As such, the goal for your doppelganger isn't to kill the party outright, but to be able to escape and impersonate another day. Only when it is alone with another person will it actively try to kill, ambushing and using sneak attacks to take down singular targets before backup can arrive. Conversely, you can treat the doppelganger as simply an ancestry and reskin it over any humanoid stat block such as guards, mages, bandits, bards, or anything that suits the moment in the story. I've particularly found that illusionist wizards, bards, and rogues to be the best classes to pair with the doppelganger's natural abilities. For Dungeon Masters, good quest hooks that involve doppelgangers require seeding a degree of paranoia and strangeness without immediately giving away the surprise. As such, perhaps the party meets an employee under a local guild's leader, or even a politician, and they report that they have noticed strange changes in their superior's personality, routines, and opinions. They themselves cannot investigate for fear of losing their position or being discovered, and so they task the party to do it for a hefty reward, perhaps access to the guild's private materials or a chance to get an invitation to a political gathering. From here, the party can follow and investigate the target, where you as the DM can change how easy or difficult it is for them to discover if the person is a doppelganger or not. It can be as easy as peering in the window and seeing them transform as they change clothes, or as hard as having the doppelganger be committed to the bit 100% of the time. If you really want to throw your players for a loop, the target itself is actually not the doppelganger at all. Instead, it is the person who gave them the job, who has planted pieces of evidence around the target's quarters, offices, and other areas that they frequently visit, hoping that the party discovers it and is able to falsely out the target on a lie. This would allow the doppelganger to circumvent its own suspicion by telling the party of its existence in a manipulative fashion, while also getting rid of the person that they want out of the way. This last recommendation is for those DMs whose parties love investigations and multi-layered mysteries, and they'll feel both so dumb and so smart once they discover the truth of their being swindled. Now, with magic items that align with the doppelganger, I find that these following items are the easiest ones to connect to the creature's biological components. For instance, you could have a wand of polymorph made from a doppelganger's bones, or a set of glamoured or even living armor made from their flayed skin that's been tanned to leather. On the other hand, we also have some items that could be worn by the doppelganger to accentuate their natural abilities. They can wear a cloak of many fashions in order to change their clothes just as they change their face, or they can wield an instrument of illusions, which they use to conjure visions when confronted by the heroes. In truth, any magic item can really be worn and used by a doppelganger so long as it fits the attunement prerequisites, so feel free to use anything that fits the plot or the character. And to go with a lot of these ideas, rather than just our traditional magic item, I've instead to include a trio of doppelganger stat blocks, each one based off the traditional class archetype of a fighter, a rogue, and a mage. Each one is reflective of a doppelganger who has been able to repurpose their changing abilities to benefit them in different ways, such as the fighter's mind parry ability or the rogue's illusory deception. I created these stat blocks using Matt Colville's action-oriented design, and they can be deployed separately or together if you want a particularly challenging combat. I've included all 3 stat blocks in the description below, and with that, that's our coverage of the doppelganger, everybody. I want to thank all of you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, comment, and subscribe, and press the little bell icon to be notified of future videos. If you guys want a chance to vote on the next video, please follow the community tab, and also follow me on my other social medias such as Twitter, Instagram, Reddit, and so on. Also, please feel free to comment down below your guys' encounter with doppelgangers, how you as dungeon masters deployed them in your game, and also let me know what you guys would like to see in upcoming videos. But until then, see you guys next time.